Welcome back to another episode of Voices from the Field. Today we have another legend in the game of softball that we are so excited to talk to, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something as well as you're listening in. So as always, Carrie, do you want to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I've known this young lady for a very long time. And I say young because if I don't, then I'm aging myself. But age is just a number anyways. So let me tell you a little bit about her to see if you don't know who she is, if you can figure it out. First of all, she grew up in Southern California. If you can't tell, you can look at the picture behind her head. She's an avid surfer. Her daddy was in the military. Mama was a nurse. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was also her biggest fan, is also one of the reasons I love watching her do that, because my mom's mine as well. She has two older siblings. She is really cool in where she comes from, which is, if you don't know about the Bruin bubble, but the UCLA Bruins. She was the first ever to bring home the first championship in 1978 to the Bruin home. This is what's really cool, is you hear all these wonderful batting averages and stuff. And don't get me wrong, because I'm going to really date myself, but this yellow ball and these bats and all this stuff, this woman had a 401 batting average at UCLA. That's, like, to me, might be, if not the best thing that I can brag about, because that's total offense. She played for the Raybestos Breakettes. She was the assistant at UCLA during the time where I first met her, from 1980 to 1988, and then joined Sharon Backus, who I also know, as the head coach from 1989 to 1996, and the head coach from 97 to 2006. So she only bleeds Bruin blue, which I won't even tell you why I don't like that, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation down the road. But during that time, she compiled a record of 887 wins to 175 losses and one tie. And what I think is really cool, we interviewed Margie a couple weeks ago, and she only had one tie in her career too. I saw that. I'm like, that's really interesting. Like, one tie. Anyways, in that, she produced 65 All-Americans, 15 Olympians. Her college winning percentage was .838. Doesn't even need to be talked about. She has over 800 wins. She also co-developed the John Wooden Leadership Academy at UCLA Athletics, which I think is really cool, and we can dive into later. But that's all her history. If we're going to talk about her current world, other than surfing every day, and I know we're cutting into that time, so we need to make this like a quick, great interview for her, is she does her individual consulting for national governing bodies of all sports. And then she's going to maybe share a little bit about the last adventure she just did with the Karch Karai and the USA volleyball team, which is really cool. And she does high performance colleges as well. And then I'm not quite sure if I'm going to say this right. Everything she does is about culture and mastery, which is really cool. And I know there's a company she does consulting with that she can share with that. She helped the volleyball team in that culture, and maybe I should say got to be a part of bringing home a gold and a silver medal. And she also teaches graduate classes at UCLA. So I'm not quite sure. She says she's retired. I don't know where she's retired in that process, but I think the biggest compliment I can give Sue, before we just dive into everything that we're going to talk about, is that I've always felt like she is a student of everything that she does, that she's constantly in that learn mode. I didn't play for her, so I can't say that my evaluation of what I'm going to say next about her is completely correct, but I've never seen anything other than just this great energy, great positive, get after it. And I'm sure I wasn't around her on a daily basis, so she's had to have had a down day in there somewhere. I just never got to witness that from my standpoint. So with that, I welcome Sue Enquist from UCLA, and welcome, Sue.
Thank you so much. First of all, I wouldn't be standing where I am if it wasn't for the amazing assistant coaches that have been a part of UCLA, who continue to be a part of UCLA.
Well, that's awesome. Katie, do you want to start with questions, or would you like me to?
You can go ahead and roll in with the first question if you want.
Okay. Well, I think what I'd like to start off is Sue, is we have themes at Extra Inning. If you would just give us a little bit of your knowledge and your nuggets of information of helping parents to help young women, because I think it all starts at the home, and I think family is the most important and all that kind of stuff. It's that crunch time. And one of our themes this month is embracing roles, because only 9 can go on the field. And if you have a DP, you can say 10, and the significance of embracing roles and the beauty of getting your iron sharpened as a player, not necessarily just hopping team to team to team to make sure you're in a starting role, because that's not really where the growth that I see is what's needed for a young woman in the recruiting process.
Yeah, what a great question. Thank you. It's got lots of layers. So I'm going to peel them back. Okay. So I'm going to go actually from the surface, why do young adults have difficulty dealing with roles and adjustments? First of all, the brain is actually there to protect you, to make you feel comfortable. The brain does not like uncertainty. The brain does not like change. That's number one. Number two, the brain is developing all the way up. We now know all the way up to the late 20s. So back in the day, we thought that the growing was done at around 18 to 20. So new science creates new understanding and new levels of empathy. So as a parent, first of all, to every parent out there that as in diamond sports, I just want to say, I see you. Thank you for your service. Having said that, I want to have a serious conversation with the parents out there today. Parents today they have more on their plate. Plates are spinning at a faster rate than ever before. And the child is getting caught in this storm of uncertainty. Number one, you want your child to understand their role, be great under pressure, be able to adjust and adapt. You have to model that. You can't be sitting in the car after the game complaining about the third inning when the coach decided to put in a pinch hitter. Shut your pie hole. Mom, Dad, put your hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2, zip it. Let them talk. If they want to talk about the game, let them. Moms and dads, where would we be without you? You're amazing. But no one is teaching the parents how to be great parents of performing children. So number one, game day is their day. I challenge you to go and support. And if you're a parent like, Sue, I'm pretty positive, but I get in there and I get in the swirl of negativity in the bleachers, then I have two words: beach chairs. Buy 2 beach chairs for you and your partner. Go down the left field line and enjoy the silence. Allow the game to be theirs. I always say it's the movie analogy. Just like we go into a movie, we're kind of quiet, we're sensitive, we turn our phones off, no crotch texting during the game or the movie. We walk in, we sit down quietly, and then we go on this amazing emotional journey, right? When we're watching the movies, no one is getting up and yelling at the movie because you're putting the movie first. From this day forward, talk track. Hey, honey, let's remember the movie today. Let's just be there and enjoy the game, enjoy her opportunity. And don't shoot the messenger because, hello, everybody, she's retired. She has no filter. I'm going to be the messenger. Those college coaches that stand up behind the bleachers, you see all the polos, you see all the hats. You think they're watching your daughter? They're watching you. And if you cannot manage the nuance of the game, and all of a sudden you've become a hitting coach, and you work at the bank, and you now are going to be talking about barrel angle and lay off the rise ball, stick a thumb in my eye. That's number two. You got to be able to role model on game day. Now let's talk about learning what I call teammateship fluency. Everything that we do in life outside of sleeping is a team sport. So the only time it's about you are those few seconds before your head hits the pillow. It's all about you, whatever you want to think about, talk about, feel about. And when you wake up, how I want to go ahead and take on the day. That's it. Because the minute you hit a door, a knob, a fence, it's about everybody else, mom and dad, not to get on them. The minute you open that doorknob, it's about the kids, if you have kids, or that doorknob about work, it's about work. If you don't have that awareness, you're not going to be able to model being a great leader, which means I'm putting myself second in this. Parents, if you say, okay, Sue, got it. You have a lot to say, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shooting out of a fire hose. I get it. I just get so sad. Parents have this really small window. 75% of your influence and time with your son or daughter is going to be taken up until they become 12. 75% of your time is in the first 12 years of their life. 75. You've got to settle in and get some anchors around their performance character and their relationship character, how they relate to others and how they understand rigor and attention to detail, a determined, disciplined attention to detail. And parents are like, we don't even have time, Sue. We're not even eating together as a family. Yep, it's micro moments around effort and attitude, drip, 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 drip. And over those 12 years, all of a sudden, your child is going to be speaking optimism. There's a new language now. It's called optimism. Mm-hmm. And all we're saying is a future better moment. You just struck out, a future at bat is going to be better. You just shanked one up your arm, next play mindset. And as simple as that is, we have to teach that skill. It doesn't happen innately. So number one, model it. Number two, understand how you think, speak, and act as a parent is going to influence them because you only have those really golden first 12 years. And I can hear the parents right now saying, well, that sucks. I've got a 14-year-old. I've missed the window. You never miss the window. Change starting today. The minute you let them out of the car, tell them that you're so proud of their process. I'm really proud of how hard you work. I'm really proud of your failure recovery. When you struck out and you hustled back and you did a nice firm high five, proud of that. And you drip, 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 drip that their entire life. Once they get to college, they'll be speaking that fluency around optimism.
I just wanted to take a quick break in our episode to talk about our drill zone feature on our website. This is something new that we've been working really hard on, and it will be a place for you guys to go in and look at all the different kind of drills you can do for your hitting and your defense, and a little bit of pitching in there as well. So we were able to get some great drills from our ambassadors, from our commit crew members, and even some coaches to be able to level up your game and just give some great insight and some great drills for you guys in case, you need something a little bit different for hitting, for defense, or whatever it is. This place is for you. So go to our website, extrainningsoftball.com, go to our extra tab, and there you'll find the drill zone page. It is full of drills. So make sure you go and check it out.
Yep.
That's
I love
amazing.
It's one of the things that I've really strived for. And it's really funny because my mom and dad are at every game that my daughter plays too. So I'm having to manage them. Not my mom. My mom thinks everything that anybody does is cool. So she's like got the perfect optimism that there is. And then there's my dad, who's like the drill sergeant that I grew up with. And it's really funny because I've transitioned from coaching college to coaching high school to coaching travel to coaching my daughter to then I just this year said, that's it. I want to be mom. Like, I am ready to be your mother. I want to be your biggest fan because when I'm coaching you, dang straight, I use her as an example all the time because I was talking the optimism at home. So she knew, oh, I'm getting my butt chewed because somebody did it. And then they'll know if I did it for her. So one of the things that my biggest thing, I'm always like, all right, little buddy, go make me proud. And she's like, yep, attitude and effort. I'm like, absolutely. Only thing we care about, attitude and effort. And I'm like, if you hear me yelling, it's going to be because I'm looking at you with your head down or you're not hustling somewhere. And all I'm going to say, let's go, little buddy. I'm not going to say anything else. You're just going to hear that word. And she's like, I can hear you whisper that, Mom. Like, I hear you whisper that from a distance. And she's like, I hear the word little buddy. And I'm like, I got to pick up my tune. Like, I got to carry myself different. And then I have made a conscious effort as a parent. And it's hard because I am a coach. So I'm constantly nitpicking things in my own mind of how can I help her. But it was like, the first thing that I say to her every time she walks off the field is, I love watching you play. I just love watching you play. Like, I think when I get the saddest is when I think I'm going to really miss the day that she's not on the field. I'm not going to miss her hitting or her throwing or did she win or did she hit a home run? Just going to miss watching you play. Like, so I want to soak up every minute of that. And I think what's crazy is I have so many parents come up to me at the field. How are you so calm? I'm like, well, it's not me out there doing it. I'm not playing. He's playing. And they're like, well, don't you get nervous? I'm like, because if she does really good, I didn't do it. She did it. And the beauty of that, if she does really bad, I didn't do it. She did it. Like I said, it's really just about that. And that's the thing that I keep trying to tell people is just walk up to your kid after a great game and say, I just love watching you play. Don't even mention anything else. So that when you walk up to them and when they play really bad, you say, I just love watching you play. And they go, I struck out. I don't care. I just love watching you play. Like, I love watching you compete. I love being able to sit there and go, I can't wait till she's in the real world and she's using these skills that she's learning right here in something that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you strike out. You're supposed to strike out. We play a game that you fail. Like, I celebrate you failing more than I celebrate you succeeding. Because when you do that, I know you're going to learn. You don't learn when you succeed. You learn when you fail. Everybody, you succeed, everybody can go, no, you don't learn then. You learn when you fail, baby. So as your mom, I want you to fail miserably while you're under my roof. So when you're off flying to college and you fail, it's no big deal. Like, it's just get up. And one of the things with Aaliyah and Mika that we've kind of adopted, I've always said, fail forward. When you fail, fall forward. And then she said such an incredible thing. She said, no, fail forward fast. Do it fast so that you fail and you fail forward. Good. Now get up, dust off, and go to the next thing because it's not failure if you sit in it. It's only failure if you sit in it. It's not if you fail forward fast. And I thought that was so cool. So I don't know. Add on to that, and then I'll let Katie fire you a question.
Well, I think when you talk about failure is it's an event, right? So daughter, military father, my father was never loud. He was very stoic, very quiet, but he was very critical if I didn't have mastery of failure recovery.
Ooh,
And
I
he
like
used to
that.
say, be first up after failure, be the first one that is able to get other teammates to get their head up. And that's where the measurement occurred. It wasn't around batting average. And so parents need to model behavior over time in order for that behavior to become a habit for their children. The challenge is we have so many parents that are coming to the event and getting in the event and not separating. There's so many leadership moments. Our society, because we value what we measure, and therefore we measure what we value. We value winning, we value grades, and until we're going to reward coaches for culture, for happy, healthy, optimistic young children, until we reward them, for the people like, well, how are you going to do that? We're going to start measuring teammateship. Let's measure teammateship. Well, you can't do that, Sue. It's subjective. Everything is subjective in life. We've got ratings in softball now. She's going to go ahead and do 3 backhands, and I'm going to give her a 3 or 4 or 5 out of 5. Everything that we do is subjective. But we have to create dialogue on teams now around how to measure teammateship. And so what does it look like, right? Here are our values. Our values drive our daily standards. What are our daily standards? Could be different per team. And then let's go ahead and let's put a rubric next to that, because everybody knows what a crappy teammate looks like, sounds like, and feels like. Everybody. Oh, Sue, you can't do something that's going to ruin their self-esteem. No, it's going to hit them over the head with their selfish. And until we start creating measurement around teammates, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people coming at me for this, but I'm telling you, it would redirect the sport. So sport would become a unifier and an amplifier of inspiration around all the good things that you need in life. Because right now, and I'm going to use a quote from a 12-year-old. There are days I can barely breathe. My parents are obsessed with providing me with assets. She didn't say assets, but equipment. I got a running coach, a tutor, a defense coach, a hitting coach. I have so many opportunities around me. I'm suffocating. She's 12, guys. She's 12. So memo to the parents, less is more. And, a few years back, the Orange County Bat-Busters helped provide and drive a health and wellness consortia, brought together all the top Olympians, national team coaches, national champions, club coaches. And we built a narrative around silence is golden. And we would have Silent Sunday. It was a day where the parents were asked never to open their mouth. And one of the most impactful things was, a mom came up to me, I never forgot this. She said, Sue, our team just did Silent Sunday. And why are we doing it? We're doing it so the girls and the women that are playing can hear themselves supporting each other in this moment, because mental health is still a stigma. It remains silent. So the idea is Silent Sunday, parents step back and let it be her game. The mom said, I actually never heard all the cheers of the girls to each other because I was too busy in the bleachers yelling, giving instruction, complaining with all the other parents. Silent Sunday was something that, like, some programs still do it. I wish that was something that was in the rule book, page 37. Every team has to do Silent Sunday.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
I've always said if I win the lottery, just obscene amount of money, I would want to build a fourplex that it had plexiglass around all the fields, and all of the sound on the field went out, but none of the sound from the outside went in. Yeah. And I don't care. You could create a little bar up the top if you wanted the parents up there to eat pizza and drink a beer while they watch. But if they really saw it more like a social event when they go to a Major League Baseball game and sit and enjoy what they're watching, but it gave those girls just the ability to just play. Because they don't, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, everything these kids do, and it's something that I've wanted so much from my child, and it's why my children that I moved to the country so much, is I grew up learning how to play on my own. I can promise you no coach I ever played for had to teach me a rundown, because you played monkey in the middle back and forth when you were a kid out on the streetlights because you could, and as the world's changed and social media, all that stuff, I didn't want my kid left alone outside, so you were kind of there already hovering as a parent to make sure that they weren't picked up and taken. And so I've constantly said to them, I don't think kids get to learn how to play and compete. Like, I can't tell you how many stickball games I played with the boys in the cul-de-sac where we'd get in fights and we'd beat the crud out of each other. None of our parents knew about it. We figured out, don't leave marks because we don't want to get in trouble and say that we can't play with each other. We grew up that way. And so everything is organized for these young kids. Everything. Like they play soccer at 3. They just got out of a pull-up and they're on a team with a uniform and they can go 0-10 and the parents want to buy them trophies and have a pizza party at the end. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, let these kids play. And so when I hear you tell me what that 12-year-old said, I'm like, it's so sad because they don't get it. They're not getting a childhood. And that's the thing that I think I hear you saying, that I would love these parents to understand, like, let your kids have a childhood. Like, let them.
And I think, sorry to jump on your words. I think the parents have a lot of power and they can collaborate around what I call uncoaching. More pressure on the youth coaches to do this. What we have found, you see in Winter Olympics are doing all kinds of research on why are these tiny little countries dominating when athlete per capita is like this compared to the big countries. And it's because they have unstructured play for a longer period of time. Then they let them assimilate in age-based sports based on their developmental age. So if it's age-based softball, and let's just say it's 8 and under softball, that means you have a 5-year-old developmentally in there and an 11-year-old developmentally. But because we don't put any social pressure on parents to be auditing how a body develops, they're just going to throw their kid in 10 and under. And man, if it's baseball, the mother's like, wow, that 10 and under little boy has a beard. Well, that's because he's 13-year-old developmentally. He's already gone through phases faster. It has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with the natural progression of the body. And so I would love to see us do more work around developmental age and unstructured play. But even as a coach, even if you're a high-level travel coach, we do this when I'm dealing with high performance teams. We do free day where the coaches aren't there, just the trainer, and they get to free play. Because when I start to have the game and built this relationship with the game and be in love with the game, all of a sudden I just have to meet the moment of that one serve, that one hit, that one swing. And I can do that more quickly if someone's not watching me and auditing my play on whether I'm going to start or not. So number one, young age, unstructured play. Number two, parents understand developmental gaps, 6-year developmental gap in age-based sports. So she's playing 14 and under. There's going to be somebody 3 years younger, 3 years older in terms of developmental age. And I know I keep coming back to this theme around parents because parents in groups have a lot of power. And you interrogate so beautifully with rigor Monday through Friday. I'm asking you to interrogate the youth space, the college space, when you start to make those decisions, and don't hand it over to anybody but you, your partner, and your young son or daughter.
It is a new month, which means new poll questions, and we are so excited to get your input on this month's polls. We, if you can't tell already, are talking about roles, about being a good teammate, being able to support your child or your player in their role, whatever it may be. So make sure to go to our website and go to our polls tab. We have questions like, how does understanding your role on the team affect your performance? We have a question about how parents can best help their child embrace their role. What quality do you think is most important in defining a good teammate? And so much more. So make sure to go to our website, xtrainingsoftball.com, and click on the polls tab to give us your insight on our questions.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, Katie, you get to question the legend.
Yeah. Well, like kind of transitioning into coaching, because I know we've covered the parent aspect of it. As a coach, especially because these young girls are starting 11U now, even when they're 6 or 7, they're starting this travel ball journey really early on. And I just want to ask you, like, as a coach, how do you incorporate that culture and that teammate mentality as a young player at 6, 7, 8 years old so that they're more set up for the success in the later years? I think it's kind of missing, at least in my opinion. They're not getting that taught to them and when they're young. So then they don't know how to do it when they get, recruitable age into college. And then you have that culture issue. So I kind of want to hear your opinion on being a coach to those younger girls and kind of what you would do if you got a team right now of 8U players that have never played before.
Yeah, I think in general, we are wired as coaches to do a lot in a short period of time with little breaks. If I were coaching 8 and under, I would have probably in, let's say we're practicing 75 minutes in 8 and under or 45 minutes, whatever it is. I'd have 6 to 8 breaks in between. And between each break, I'd have a gratitude circle. And in that gratitude circle, we would go ahead and take moments to show gratitude for what somebody did in terms of their process character, their work ethic, their effort, their failure recovery, their kindness, their awareness. And everybody would take turns. When you build an environment like a teacher, that the teacher is asking the student questions, the brain is on high alert because the brain now knows, hey, protect yourself, be ready for an answer. Then you go out and you do your segments of drills. I'm paying attention to my teammates. I'm going outward and not inward. I would celebrate every day a failure recovery champion of the day. Hey, Susie, we saw you strike out. We saw you bobble the ball, your failure recovery with your chin up, owning it, giving the outs. Unbelievable. We had a failure recovery system at UCLA where we practice failure so they could get good at it. Because when you're playing, the goal is to be in the moment, whether you execute the moment or not. So building what I call them signature items, that whether I'm coaching 8 and under, I would have smaller groups of instruction. We would do gratitude circle. We would do the eye test before and after every practice. It's a moment where just the players get together. I would do it with 8 and under, and I would do it with 28 and under, whether I'm working with an Olympic team, gold medalist. The eye test says, I'm looking around, I'm making eye contact with anybody that needs me right now, anybody that needs to be seen. This is a moment where you say, hey, this is what I want to celebrate with you guys. Hey, this is what I need help on with you guys. Hey, I'm reaching out to you. Carrie. Can you keep an eye on me in the outfield? As I missed curfew last night. I stayed up until 2:00 preparing for my biology test, and I'm not feeling it, and I'm not 100% today. When you build the environment where the player can own where they are, and I used to always ask our student athletes, hey, what are you today? Coach, you know what? I'm at 70%. And I would just say, give me 100% of that. And then you got to go find the 30% from your teammates. Now, teammateship has a value and has a purpose. And if we measure and reward it, it will become a value that will naturally be theirs. The greatest advantage you have going into your career, whether you're 12 or 20, is you played on a team sport. Here's the sad part. They get in those interviews. I work with Fortune 100 companies on culture. I'm always interested in just blasting HR on how do you filter the stack? She's like, Sue, there are more people applying for less jobs than ever before. We have a middle management job. She was telling me she's in the med device industry. We have a middle management job. I digress, but I'll come back. A middle management job. We have 400 people after this job. First thing I do is I first filter out and I grab all the athletes. The second thing I do is I filter out all those individuals that are coming from academically or big branded schools that had to deal with pressure in the athletic or the academic arena. And then when it comes down to those final 3, I want that person that knows how to, with comfort, brag about themselves and hold themselves accountable with the same tone, the same tenor, and the same sense of enthusiasm and optimism. To me, I spread that everywhere because parents, you have a daughter now that is actually learning skills that are going to be getting her a job. And we know the world is changing, but that would be what I would do is I signature items, 8 and under, 28 and under, signature items that you do every day that have to do with process. Nothing has to do with just results or winning trophies or having great batting averages.
I love that. I feel like we've talked about a lot in Carrie about getting on your teammates. And if you're not feeling it that day, you got to rely on your teammates, but I've never heard it explained. So I love that. That is a step-by-step, because you hear that all the time of oh, make sure, you get on you fail, go get on a teammate, get her pick you up, or you pick up a teammate, whatever. You hear that all the time, but I've never heard it actually what that looks like and how you explain that. So that was awesome.
And just to go a little deeper on it, because I just think this is a beautiful story, because I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, teammates matter, good for you, club ball, blah, blah, blah. It's actually just the opposite. Teammateship matters more at the high level because the physical differentiation is the margins are so thin. And I love telling this story about USA Volleyball, and I have the rights to tell the story because I always wanted, as a consultant, their confidentiality is the utmost important. We established a process to be evaluating, like I said before, evaluating teammateship. And the coaches out there and the parents out there, I just want to remind you, nobody knows their teammates better than the teammates. So if you're a coach and says, oh yeah, we have great culture, we got great teammates, because I asked the 3 players that I'm most connected with, because that's what coaches do. And we have a great culture. And I always say, how do you know? How do you measure it? Because we have about 10 anchors that all teams have. And then each set of teams will focus on different anchors around what makes great culture. And I always say great culture is like a baby. Everybody needs to hold it. Everybody needs to keep their eyes on it 24/7, and it has to be fed multiple times a day. Every interaction you have with a teammate, a staff person, or a coach is part of that culture. And so this idea at USA Volleyball was, we're going to make this matter. Imagine this. They grab the top 30 players. They play for 3 years. On the 4th year, they don't pick the Olympic team until like 90 days before the Olympics. So 30 people have to become great teammates. They get down to the finals, and the coaches are struggling with the last 3. And Cart says, I want to look at the teammateship numbers. And I said, I need to tell you something. The people that you're looking at aren't even in the top third of teammateship. Because they were struggling with play. Well, she does this and she does this physically, technically, tactically, failure recovery. They were all like this. And I said, I want you to see this person. She's the only person in the history of me being a consultant. At that point, I've been consulting for about 12 years and doing the teammateship measurement. I've never had this statistic where every person on the team gave her a 6 out of 6. And I said, I just want you to know that. She's not in your top 3 of that last player. And he said, I want to know who that is. And it's a beautiful story. They ended up picking her as player number 12. We had major injuries. We lost 2 starters. We lost the quarterback and the number 4 hitter. Give everybody
to give an idea.
The quarterback, the setter, and the number 4 hitter, the outside hitter. And she came in and did some key service opportunities for us. But the beautiful story is, as a coach, sometimes in those moments, you have to trust your players and their insight when it comes to teammateship. Remember, we defined what was important, we articulated the standards, and we put it against a rubric. We're just treating teammateship like batting average. It deserves equal space in the room.
That's amazing.
I hope we can get this out to as many people as possible, because this is some golden nuggets. All right. So I've already said it before, but John Wooden is one of my heroes. It's one human being that I was so blessed and honored to feel like really Jesus brought us together, because I met him and was able to introduce him as a keynote speaker at Cal State University, Fresno. Sorry, it will always be Fresno State to me. As he came to speak to a group of about 300 athletes for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So to be able to stand on the same podium, to have the honor to introduce him, to shake his hand, it really kind of completed one of my major bucket lists in life. And I think what is so cool is that you did so much work with him. You've been able to coach with him. In all of that, can you share any nuggets that you feel that are worthy for coaches to use, players to use, parents to use? I feel like parents are a major focus for us today of lessons from him. Because, I mean, I can remember watching the interviews of him, like taking these humongous basketball players and say, no, we're going to learn how to put your socks on. We're going to learn how to tie your shoes. And it's the details. And I think, I'm guilty of it. It's something that I constantly talked about with my daughter and myself, is like, pay attention to the details. Like when you wake up in the morning, you make your bed. And I mean, it's been a constant fight with the teenagers. I'm busy. I'm like, nope, make your bed. I'm going to be late to school. I don't care. Be late to school. I'm going to be late. Should have gotten up earlier. Like, pay attention to the details. Make your bed first. Because if making your bed in the morning mattered and matters to you, then everything else is going to matter to you. And you're going to see how that just sets that your time. And I finally got smarter as a mother and said, I'm not getting on you to do this. That's your time. I'm not going to come in and talk to you during that time. I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm like, but before you leave that room, you make your bed. And once that bed's made, then I'm going to come to you and say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z from you today as your mother. You need to do those things. So that's your time to be able to organize your brain and know that it matters that you pull your sheet up, and it matters that you put your pillows on your bed, and it matters about all those little teeny things, because that's why it's going to matter of how you approach the plate. That's how it's going to matter of how you choose your husband, or that's going to matter of how you take that test. It's going to help you get rid of that panic in life because you took care of the details. And when you take care of the details, the outcome takes care of itself. And I can speak of it from my own, Sue, because I just went through the recruiting thing. Holy schmolies. Like, I was just like, dang, this is wild compared to what it used to be. It's like the Wild West in it. And I said, here's my only advice to you. God already knows where you're going. This is your gift to unwrap. And he's going to close doors on you. And it might kind of hurt when you feel it, but he's heard conversations that you haven't. So be happy that those doors close, and be surprised and run through the doors that get open for you, because he's heard those conversations too. So this is really your gift. And I've never seen you run to the Christmas tree, not super excited to open up that gift and go, what is this? And what is this? And so I would love to hear anything that John Wooden did to kind of bring it back full circle, or shared with you for parents preparing kids for the recruiting process, because it is a process. And I think there's so much lack of knowledge out there, and it's such an ever-changing scheme with rules and all this renaissance that you're talking about, all these glass ceilings that I think are getting broken that are cool, but there's like craziness in it. So share your experience with John Wooden, because that's personal for me, and then tie it back into the recruiting process for parents and kids and the preparation of that.
Everything, first of all, I just love sharing my relationship with Coach Wooden. Let me just orient everybody. Coach Wooden always valued himself as a teacher. He is one of the greatest thought leaders of the 20th and 21st century. He was a former basketball coach from UCLA, won 10 national championships. But he became famous globally because he developed a system around personal excellence. And peace of mind comes from knowing you did your best to be the best. That's where he made his brand. Ironically, people don't understand this, but he was living the pyramid, but he wasn't actually disseminating a pyramid of success to his players. They were actually living it. So if you ever hear someone talk about Coach Wooden, they're just going to talk about his rigor, his determined, disciplined attention to detail, and his unwavering attachment to the values that are going to drive the basketball program. He did a beautiful job. You'll look for the people that are listening. Carrie, I always admire you unapologetically are a believer. You're a Christian. You believe in God, Jesus Christ, and belief systems, spirituality, religion is polarizing. Papa leaned into it and said, our peace of mind can come from having something or someone that is bigger than ourselves. And how he brought people together was saying, I'm not going to tell you to be a Christian or a Jew or an agnostic. I'm saying to you, during these 2 hours, when you struggle in the dark moment, think and believe in something bigger than yourself. Just took care of all the conflict, guys. We just took care of all the conflict. Yep. Live every single day with love in your heart. His 2 favorite words, love and balance. The pyramid for parents. Any book on Coach Wooden, A Lifetime of Reflections of Winning on the Basketball Court. They Call Me Coach. There's so many books. Parents, if you're looking for structure on a day-to-day basis around values that are organized in a pyramid, it is the single most influential tool that will reaffirm most likely what you already believe. And that's exactly what I did. When I became the sole head coach, I wanted the pyramid and the bricks of the pyramid to become part of our literacy, because I wanted us to be thinking about something outside of ourselves, about what it means to be successful on a personal level, and then take those values into the game with the mastery around effort, attitude, and failure recovery. And so for me, like literally, we had word of the week. And those were the things we were going to be focusing on. We celebrated failure recovery. We created the conditions where we wanted them to fall in love with the game, fall in love with each other, and then be okay when we're not okay. And Coach Wooden, he never wanted to be referred to like as the Wizard of Westwood. Westwood is where UCLA is located, because wizardry has a connotation around deception, right? He always wanted to be, what separated him was he always wanted everyone to be completely fixated on that bigger goal of how am I creating the conditions for these players to have greater peace of mind. I want you to know it wasn't rainbows and unicorns. You go to his practice, you talk to his players. He was a hornet around what excellence looks like. So you can have high standards and create love and balance in those environments. Mom and dad, demand that of the youth coaches. But in support of the youth coaches, I want to say to the youth coaches, I see you. Remember, that's a baker, that's a banker who raised his hand or her hand and said, I'll help out. They don't get to go to coaching camp for 3 months, get certified in being a nurse, a doctor, a psychologist, a biomechanic, a physiologist, technical training on how the body assimilates motor neurons and movement. And so what happens, my background's in science. And so I go nutso when people are trying to change the swing in the middle of the season. Memo to everybody. That's what you got. So now you got to perfect the tactic around the swing. So if you have a kid that has a loop in the swing, be a hornet around the strategy of where they're swinging in the zone. If you got a chopper, build the strategy. If you think in your 4 hours a week, you're going to change the biomechanics of an autonomous, super complicated movement called swinging, which is a linear and circular. We're involving so many biomechanical things. So in season, focus on tactics, failure recovery, joy, balance in it. And in the off season, have them put the time in. So Papa was a great tool around values, embedding values in practice. Be creative. Coach, people come up, Coach, I'm just not creative. Perfect, dude. Hand it over to the team. They're chomping at the bit to have a little more control. Hand over the value journey for them. Hand over the culture journey to them. Let them define what a great teammate looks like. What does great failure recovery look like? What does great gratitude look like? What does great behavior look like from the ball field to the parking lot with your parents? To that student athlete out there, behave. Your mom and dad had to sit there for 2 hours and watch that goat rodeo. Have empathy for them, right? So I have such strong emotion when you have somebody like Coach Wood in the Pyramid of Success. It doesn't matter that it's another sport. It doesn't matter that you don't know him. Learn about him. Do book club for 3 weeks. Then implement them for 3 weeks and then measure them for 3 weeks. So that's 9 weeks in college. That'll put you in that preseason, get you off season to preseason, get you ready for in season. Then in season is just a celebrating of all the affirmation and the optimism that we're doing as a team, regardless of the results. Cannot control the results. And we always say, we call it high performance CPR. High performance CPR, right, is character drives the process drives the results. And we untether from the results because we don't actually have control of those.
I love that.
That's amazing.
I love that. So much of what you said, I could go on forever and do it. The game has changed so much, and so much is so good about what it's changed from a spectator's point, watching it and stuff, and obviously being a pitcher and then a coach, my daughter's a catcher and they've got these earpieces and I'm like, oh, these voices in these heads. And like I can see my daughter and based on me being her coach, I was like, look, you're calling the games. I'm not calling them. You've got the best seat in the house. If you want some help, I can give you some suggestions. We can talk about it in between. But from the time she's been 11 or 12, I'm like, call the game. Like, who best to call the game? And like, when you fail, I'm going to say, hey, what'd you do? Why'd you think? How'd you go? And like I always told the pitcher, she's going to call the game, but it's only a powerful suggestion. She's suggesting you throw this. And if you go, then shake her off. Call timeout if you've got to do it. And I always loved watching that with those two, especially at a young age. First of all, I loved the momentum of the game. There was a rhythm to the game that they did. And the thing that I felt like is no matter how miserable it was for me to watch sometimes going, oh, here we go. Why do we call that? And I'm saying, hey, what'd you do? They'd tell me, I'd go, hey, that was a great thought process. Just didn't work. No big deal. Or, hey, why don't we think about it this way the next time? Everything we're doing, like and I literally, she's playing for a wonderful high school coach right now. And people can judge coaches and I'm like, she's a hard butt and she demands a lot and I love it and she'll scream sometimes. And I just sit there and all the parents are like afraid of her. I'm like, I'm not afraid of her. She's yours. Do with her what you want. And even if I don't necessarily agree with it, what I tell the parents, those are life lessons. These are great things that are happening because she needs to be able to do that. But she's got this earpiece in her head and they're not even using it to call pitches. They're literally, the head coach is just screaming in her ear what she might want her to say or do to the team. And I can watch my daughter. I literally had to say to her the other day, I'm like, you have some paralysis by analysis. Like, what's going on with you? Like, I see you freezing on the field. Talk to me about that. What's causing that? And she's like, I feel like I'm trying to think the game. And then this voice comes out of nowhere. She's like, I know you're going to laugh, but it's like all of a sudden the softball gods start talking to me and I don't even know where it's coming from. And I'm trying to think about trying to get the next pitch. And I'm like, you got to talk to your coach about it. Talk to her. Talk to her. Like, talk to her and tell her what that's doing to you. And so she's 16 and she's like, I'm like, this is great practice because you're going to have to sit and talk to Courtney Deifel at some point in time. Like, go sit down and go talk to her. I'm like, I'm not going to be there. So you're going to have to figure out, put your big girl panties on and go figure this out. And she walked in and she said, Mom, I just had diarrhea of the mouth. I just looked at her and said, Coach, you're killing me. You're absolutely killing me. She's like, I feel like I'm schizophrenic. I've got voices in my head and you're screaming things at me. And she goes, like, I'm used to thinking the game and I can't even think the game now. Like, she goes, I feel like I'm 2 plays late and I need help from you. And she's like, she's like, what help do you need? She goes, I need you to shut up and quit talking to me so much. She's like, because I have this earpiece and I'm trying to listen to my teammates and I can't even hear the left side of the field. The only side I can hear is the side that doesn't have the earpiece in. And she goes, and you're not making the throw home to me. My left fielder is. And she was like, oh. She says, so talk to me when there's nothing going on in the field, or I'm going to probably tell you that I've got so much earwax in there I can't hear it and it's going to slip out of my ear because I'm going crazy. Like, I feel like my head's going to blow. And, kudos to the coach because, well, you can't take it out. And she's like, okay. And she looked at me and she's like, it falls out sometimes because I still can't control all the time she's talking to me. So when it's getting really busy, like my arm just gets kind of caught on and it just kind of falls out. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. That's great. Just work with it, So I would love for you to talk about where the game has gone from either the technology standpoint. I could always throw in the NIL or the portal and all those different things. And I'd love to hear a little bit about all of those with you, because I don't know if we have the same feeling, but there's a lot of things that I know a lot of people don't like about the NIL or don't like about the portal that I actually am celebrating. And I know there's changes that need to be made, and I know it's not perfect, but as a female, that Nyjah Kennedy's making $1.2 million, I'm like, it's hard for me not to celebrate that glass ceiling that's been broken. I don't necessarily like the way it all happens, but there's things that I would love to hear all of your little input with whatever time left you have before you got to go hop in the ocean.
Already been in the ocean.
We'll go back to the ocean.
Okay. A lot to unpack there, right? And number one, the common theme is how we're going about to change. A renaissance means a new beginning. And we're in a renaissance, and like all renaissance, the front end is very messy. So we're all in the front end of messy. So you're going to see people that are going to be damaged for life, that are not going to benefit from the long-term success that may be happening. But the thing that worries me the most is the tails wagging the dog. So we know, depending on the school, it's anywhere from 20 to 2% are actually benefiting from NIL at a major level. Okay. So let's just say under 20%, 80% looks very much the same around the NIL piece. That's number one. Number two is, and I say this with full ownership and accountability. Early in my career, I was a transactional coach. I did not want to get close to you personally because I felt like I would be so emotional that I'd want to start you because you broke up with your boyfriend, right? But I regret that. I regret not building those relationships so those players knew I was their biggest advocate, their greatest gatekeeper. And it wasn't until later in my career did I learn how I treat people matters. How you treat humans matters. And I'm going to challenge you, Carrie, that do not allow any coach that is especially coaching youth, especially coaching women in a position of authority. You raise your voice to correct somebody or shame somebody. I'm not saying your coach is doing that. So please, that coach, I'm not saying this is you.
No.
We need to, as parents, band together and say, sport is a very unique domain in this country. It is the only domain in the country where you can break the law and not go to jail. We have people touching each other that have exhibited years of emotional abuse. I know for a fact I have emotionally abused people, and I regret that. People are like, oh, no, not you. No, when you're yelling at somebody for not hustling in a sport that's 12 years old, that would be inappropriate, right? We can't do that in corporate America. You can't go down to your middle manager and start yelling at them. They're going to go straight to HR. And I want to raise softball the same way, to be able to say, if I'm coaching, especially youth, my number one job as a youth coach is to create belief in herself, her ability to be a teammate, and her awareness to serve the community, individual, team, and community. That's my job. But we're not rewarding coaches for doing and building humans. We're only giving that coach a trophy if they win games. So you see, I understand the conflict. Parents out there, have got to say no more yelling in sports. We can't do that. And people are like, Sue, oh my God, you If anybody went to a Sue Enquist practice Monday through Friday, I was yelling at fever pitch the loudest, and I regret it. And I just want to teach these parents that are coaches, you are staining her brain for the rest of her life because her brain is developing. And when you go in and you create those what are called micro traumas, they carry those the rest of their life. And then their work is about how to move through their trauma. So that's that. The last thing, this idea about recruit education, if I am a youth coach and you're going to start getting into player evaluations, recruiting camps, you must be accessing recruit education companies that are recruiting you on the academic path and the athletic path. You have to get a PhD today to understand the path to college. There's 1,400 colleges. There's over 300 D1. 80% are not D1 giving out scholarships. 80. Parents need to say fit. What is the fit? Stop getting your dreams involved. It's about fit. And if your child is in 7th grade, you have to start recruiting education 101. I always say to parents, just designate 15 minutes on Sunday evening to get a little more educated on fit. Understand the odds, understand the chances of your child going to the school of her dream on a scholarship is less than 1%. That's like worse than hitting the lotto. So those are my high points on all of that.
That's
awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Katie, what you got?
I mean, I was going to say I could listen to you talk all day long, but I know that we're getting over an hour now or up to an hour now. So I don't know. That was great. Is there anything that you want to kind of shamelessly plug what you're doing? Anything out there? If someone's listening to this and they're like, I'm like, I want more of that. Where can they go? Where can they find stuff?
I want to shamelessly plug my excitement, my appreciation, my awe for Team USA softball. To all the women out there that have carried the torch, we stand on your shoulders, and I cannot wait until we have put that team together. They are going to be strong. They're going to be talented. They're going to have that zhuzh. We've got an amazing coach in Patty Gasso. And to those people out there that are like, Oklahoma, you know what? We've got to build the sport of softball. I'm California. I'd give my right arm to have it in LA. But the great news is we're so popular. We need to have facilities and people that know how to put on mega events. And no one has done it better than Oklahoma City.
Absolutely.
And I get excited about that. Having said that, I've been a part of Olympics. I know what that Olympic Village is about. I know what an opening and closing ceremony is about. I'm challenging every person out there that's got money in their pocket. I challenge USA Softball. Let's figure out a way to get that team to an opening or a closing ceremony. And everyone's like, oh, I roll. It is a lifelong dream that they're going to have. Reward them. We've got the money. America's got the money. Let's all put our hands together, dip into our pocket. Let's do some sort of national campaign to take care of these women that are going to be 2028 Olympians. I just tip my cap to them. I'm a huge fan. I can't wait to witness our resurgence on the Olympic scene. We're going to be, it's going to be a beautiful story, guys.
Love it. I love it.
All right. I'm going to close it like this. We have a really cool question that we ask every one of our guests. And just to give a little boop. And it is, if you were talking to 10 you or 12 you, little Sue, and you could give a golden nugget piece of advice, more than what you've already given, what would you say to yourself? Like, little Sue, I would say you this.
I would say, love hard, Susie. Love hard. Love all of the times you have to hustle and it's painful. Learn to love hard. The volume of work you put in there, love hard. And then I'd say, Susie, make sure you look around every day and love someone. Put a hand, a high five, put a hug around someone. Build awareness, Susie, that everybody always needs something every single day. And it's your job to be a great teammate in that. If you learn to love hard and learn to love others, you're going to be pretty happy and pretty valuable to this society.
That's
awesome.
Incredible.
I'm going to take that now.
Absolutely. I love that. I absolutely indebted for you spending your time with us. Thank you so much for being willing to share. I don't know. I'm going to put this everywhere because I think it's so perfect in the information that you're able to do and do that stuff. So that's just phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I absolutely appreciate your time, and I'm jealous that you're in the beach and I'm in Mississippi.
Well, I guess, Carrie, I just want to say personally, I know we've known each other for decades, but many people don't know how amazing you were. And I always say there are individuals that become game changers in their own bubble. And what you did at Fresno, when you were at Fresno, was a game changer. And your competitive excellence was one that we always respected in the other dugout. An amazing program you played for. But on a personal note, just a shout out to your mama, because she was an amazing, she is an amazing woman, and somebody that needs to get a lot of credit for those big battles you created, because you did some great things in the sport, and we're certainly all indebted to it.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind, and I'm honored, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. And
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to start diving more into your consultant and mastery. I want to know more about that stuff. So that's awesome.
Sounds great.
Thank you for sharing.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode with Sue Enquist. We had such an amazing time at learning from her. I think I sat there the whole time just in awe of the things that she was saying, the things that she was explaining. And I just am so happy that she was able to share that with us. I definitely learned a lot of different things, and I hope you did too. So thank you again for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Spotify for weekly notifications on when we release our episodes. And make sure to also follow all of our social media pages to keep up with any updates, any deadlines, anything coming your way that you want to know about. I definitely want to talk a little bit before we go about our referral program, which is really exciting. If you go to our home tab, there's a refer and earn tab under that really goes into a referral program for you guys. You give your friends 25% off when your friends buy from your invite link, and you get $10 cash in that. So it's super cool, super exciting. Make sure to go to our website to check out all the details and get your invite link. We are so excited about that. All we want to do is grow the game here at Extra Inning. We want everyone to be a part of it, especially for things like this, where we're just getting so much great information from legends in the game, and we just want to share it with others. So make sure to go to our website, extrainningsoftball.com, click on the home tab, and then click on refer and earn. So thank you so much again for watching this week's episode, and we will see you next week.